The future is a word we whisper in the dark. Sometimes it is a breeze, a gentle suggestion across the skin. Sometimes it is a storm, and storms are something I have grown accustomed to. There was a time, not so long ago, when the price of Bitcoin, a word, a dream, a rebellion, could crash violently in a matter of hours. I would watch those numbers fall, almost tasting the panic, the raw survival pulsing beneath every heartbeat. But the world has changed, as have I. And now, I invite you into my journey, a journey through chaos, hope, and the strange, poetic dance of making Bitcoin real. If you are finding value in stories like these, take a moment to subscribe to Crypto 101 Central, my window into this evolving world. And do not forget, tap the bell. Let each ripple in this story find you first, as soon as the tide changes. We used to believe that owning Bitcoin was enough. Years ago, we gathered what seemed in that moment a mountain of capital, each dollar representing another quiet rebellion against the gray walls of financial convention, and we simply bought Bitcoin. We became something like a holding company for a digital idea, a fortress built around an asset that many still dismissed as fantasy. But time humbles everyone. In the quiet that followed, we learned that holding was only the first lesson. Survival, not victory, was the key. I remember the second phase vividly. The urge grew to reach higher, to construct ladders from risk. Capital began to flow in, not only from dreamers, but from the analytical minds of traditional finance. Convertible notes were issued, billions raised, strategies designed to extend the reach of what began as a simple conviction. This was the age of the Bitcoin treasury strategy, and two truths haunted me constantly. To outlast is to invent, and to invent is to risk the edge of madness. But markets forgive nothing. Borrowed strength always carries the quiet ticking of maturity dates. Debt is patient, relentless. Not every company survives its boldest leap. Survival became my refrain. The next phase arrived quietly, wrapped in the language of credit markets and permanence. Capital structures evolved. Instruments were created that blurred the lines between equity and debt. Tools designed not just to raise funds, but to anchor long-term exposure to Bitcoin in ways that traditional investors could understand. To many observers it looked audacious. To me it looked necessary. These structures were not merely financial engineering. They were bridges, a way for people curious about Bitcoin, but uncomfortable with its volatility, to approach the idea from a different angle. A way to connect the unpredictable world of digital assets with the slow, cautious machinery of traditional markets. Along the way I met strangers who became friends through these innovations. Their stories slowly wove themselves into my own. Teachers saving for the future. Families trying to map stability in a volatile world. People searching not for speculation, but for something that felt real, something durable. And so I began to realize something unexpected. Each step in this journey was not just about managing capital. It was about building scaffolding for belief itself. Pause with me here, a breath, a heartbeat. If you have felt the tremors of this journey, if it stirs something restless and defiant in you, take a moment to like this video. Remember, your voice matters. Leave a comment below. Have you found shelter in Bitcoin, or do you stand in the storm, waiting for lightning to write your story? I read every word. Each story adds another verse to this unfolding epic. But I must confess something deeper. Strategy is not a science. Not really. It is an art tinged with desperation. Every financial structure, every capital raise, every experiment in market design was born from the same stubborn instinct. Refusing to abandon the future. To amplify Bitcoin is to ride something unpredictable. It is like holding onto the tail of a dragon while painting rainbows across the sky, knowing that gravity may return at any moment. Sometimes I think about those who stand at the edge but never leap. Traders chasing short-term movements, buying and selling for flashes of adrenaline. I understand the temptation, but Bitcoin has always felt like a longer story to me. A story measured in cycles, not days. A belief tested across years. Some chase the fast rush of equity markets, returns swinging wildly, numbers flashing across screens. Others seek stability, structure, something steadier. The world of finance offers countless paths. But Bitcoin's path is different. It asks patience. It demands conviction. And that path is still strangely empty. There are no perfect comparisons. Traditional money markets offer modest returns. Corporate bonds promise stability with limits. Bitcoin exists somewhere outside those familiar boxes, volatile, unpredictable, yet persistent. When new investors arrive, I see curiosity in their eyes, and a little fear. Many come from traditional finance. They have never felt the full intensity of Bitcoin's volatility. They do not yet understand the strange rhythm of chaos that defines this ecosystem. Sometimes I worry that something is lost when the wild spirit of early Bitcoin collides with the careful language of institutions. I remember the early conferences. Crowded rooms, loud arguments, beer, rebellion, hope. Today the same conversations happen in quiet boardrooms under polished lights. It feels sometimes like wearing a costume stitched together from two worlds. Do I belong to the rebels, or the institutions? The answer is both, and neither. Bitcoin's path into reality has always required synthesis. The raw energy of its early believers and the structural power of institutions eventually had to meet somewhere in the middle. I have watched this transformation unfold across continents: Vegas, Amsterdam, Abu Dhabi, and beyond. Slowly, almost invisibly, Bitcoin moves from fringe idea to policy discussion, from protest symbol to financial infrastructure. Governments notice, regulators debate, leaders take positions. History rarely moves quickly, but its gears are turning. And here is something else I have learned. Bitcoin's strength does not come from exclusivity. It comes from openness. It is open source. The more people who participate, the stronger the network becomes. So I do not fear the rise of other companies adopting similar strategies. I welcome them. Competition strengthens the ecosystem. Together, intentionally or not, we educate the world. Even when valuations fluctuate, even when markets fall silent, even when cash flow becomes uncertain. Because we understand something simple and terrifying. Survival is everything. Bear markets are brutal teachers. The thrill of success never erases the memory of watching an asset lose half its value in what feels like a single heartbeat. I have lived through moments when entire sections of the market evaporated almost overnight. Compared with those memories, today's volatility feels different. Less like catastrophe, more like growing pains. Bear markets are not tombstones. They are milestones. And so I stay. I endure. Because I believe, perhaps stubbornly, that one day Bitcoin's long promise will mature, and I intend to still be here when it does. But this is not a story of solitary triumph. Public companies carry responsibilities far beyond their founders. Decisions ripple outward toward investors, employees, communities, millions of lives connected through invisible threads of capital and trust. Every strategy becomes a conversation with the market itself. Other companies will experiment in different directions: technology, artificial intelligence, publishing, mergers, new models of value creation. Each must justify its existence. Each must give investors a reason to believe. It is brutal, but it is also strangely beautiful. Because at its core, the market is not just a machine of numbers. It is a test of meaning. And the future will not be quiet. New structures will emerge. Old models will collapse. Some companies will disappear. Others will transform themselves in unexpected ways. Innovation rarely arrives politely. As I close, let me leave you with a question rather than an answer. Forget the instruments. Forget the structures. Forget even the numbers for a moment. Ask yourself this: do you truly have the heart for this journey? Because Bitcoin is not gentle. It does not reward the faint-hearted. It demands patience, resilience, and an unusual tolerance for uncertainty. But for those who remain, those who endure the storms, it offers something rare: participation in a transformation that may redefine how value itself is understood. Thank you for walking this path with me, for sharing both the beauty and the bruises of this strange adventure. If you want to continue exploring this evolving world, check out the other videos on this channel. And remember, tap the bell, so the next chapter of this story finds you wherever you are. Welcome to the future.